Welcome to the 40k Spice Center from the Honest Wargamer. I'm your host, Rob. Welcome to the show. I'm joined by Nick, my co-host in the Spice Most, and Tom, my other co-host in the... Oh, should have maybe said... Yeah.
Sharpest minds in 40k Spice.
Hello everyone, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us live. I see a whole bunch of you in the chat. Appreciate you. Big love to Neil in the chat. Love that guy. Or Big Dylan. Shadowsun, hi. Shadowsun, I want you to know I printed out like 8 of those crates, by the way, and they all work really lush, which I'll talk to you guys about in a minute. Today's show, we're going to be talking about basically the news. Spice Center is all about the news now, every 40k show. So there's some really interesting stuff. Specifically, we're going to go through new point system, the rival to the ITC point system. And then we are also going to be talking about the official Games Workshop Pro Tour over in America, which will be some hot. We're going to talk about the Pro Tour. And we're also going to be discussing... oh, no, I accidentally put Games Workshop. Damn it.
It's Workshop.
Yeah, I know. That's going to get all the wrong people in the chat. Oh, no.
Okay. We're fixed. It's fine.
Yeah, I fixed it. So... and then, and also we're going to be discussing the orcs, because even though they were obviously released on Friday, me, Nick, and Tom having a chance to discuss it, and then anything else that you guys would like us to bring up in the chat. Stu Redacted, thank you for resubscribing, and thanks. Can we get bunny rabbit ears around every mention of the Pro Tour? Sure, the Pro Tour.
It's okay. I feel like there's a way that they can market it where it'd actually be like really successful, but it's not the same as I think Games Workshop are thinking. Yeah. We'll talk about it later. I've got an idea. Okay.
Yeah, and about what it all means, so I'm hyped for that. But before we get on with it, I'd like to know how my 2 luscious friends are. Nick, are you eating yogurt on air? What are you doing?
Yeah.
It's the only thing you can eat these days.
Some people do this. Some people just do this on Twitch, like, or YouTube. They just eat food and people watch them eat food. It's
do you
think that's something we would be good at? I
think we'd be great at it. I think we'd probably get more subscribers doing that than doing this.
Wow. Fucking rude. Accurate.
I mean, the hot tub stream would be the most, popular because we're obviously the ladies' night fitness show, so it works.
We are the
We're all gym dwellers, apart from Rob, who sits here and sweats all day instead.
Not today, not as much. It's not quite as hot in the room today, which is quite nice. So I'm chilling today.
Finally got the aircon working, or there's another hole in the roof.
No, I just opened the door. That was my tactic. Nick, how have you been? What's been going on?
I've been generally pretty well, but
Nice.
I've been relatively stressed this week because I'm having to police 2 cats almost 24/7.
Okay.
So about a week and a half ago, we got a new kitten, and we already had a cat who's like 10 years old. So getting them to try and play nice has been a bit of a journey, but they're kind of getting on now. But early on was a bit difficult and stressful, trying to just be like constantly between them in case they like kicked off and started stabbing each other.
Right.
But they're pretty okay now.
Have you done that thing where you give them like have you assigned them characters like this is this Primarch, this is clearly the other Primarch, a kind of classic situation?
Yeah, we did the classic, cat training Warhammer 40,000 role play to ease them into it. I started doing that a few weeks before the kitten came with my first cat. I think Rico was Magnus because I had been telling him, yes, there's a new kitten here, but you've done nothing wrong. Don't worry about it.
Good. And how's he taking it?
I think he's okay about it now. Kind of. He's begrudgingly accepting the kitten now.
Well, I'm glad that the cats are okay, and I can't wait to hear more cat updates. I would like that at the beginning of every show, if possible, please. Cyphers Blackadder, thank you for resubscribing. That's very much appreciated. Nick, James Powell in the chat says, more or less stressful than looking after Rob.
Less stressful.
Fuck, I am a nightmare.
Much less stressful.
Oh my god. Fuck me. Okay, well, Tom, catch us up. How you been? What's been going on?
Yeah, I've been good. I just put way too much glue on this Necron Warrior again, but that's all right. We'll sort that out later. I've been okay. I've had a busy week, but I've got a lot of stuff done again. I finished assembling all my first Indomitus box set, so now I'm on to my second Indomitus box set because I'm a disgusting hoarder.
Wow.
And yeah. And I've painted some Sanguinary Guard, which I'm quite pleased with. Worked out a scheme, so that's pretty good. It's been an interesting week. Twitter's been weird.
Sanguinary Guard. What is going on?
It's fine. I'm just painting on my Imperium, mate. I wouldn't worry about it. It's okay.
That doesn't sound... Nick, that sounds like Secret Stonks, like when he was lying about...
Definitely not Secret Stonks. I think you're right. I have also...
a Sanguinary Guard on your secret anti-Drukhari spreadsheet that you have, Tom?
Well, my anti-Drukhari has actually been going pretty well because we're scrimming against the Northern Irish at the minute. Mm-hmm. And I was playing the Grey Knights.
Scuffle.
Yeah, the scuffle, yeah. So we basically ended up pairing against them, and although my Grey Knights didn't get to play against the Drukhari, they forced them into a situation where they had to give us... The Drukhari got a nice matchup, and whoever played me got a nice matchup, but everybody else got a bad matchup for the Northern Irish, apart from a couple of drawing games, right? So it's actually gone kind of well. I've also been playing Drukhari in the Scottish Knockout League, and I played my first mirror.
You've been playing with Drukhari?
Playing with Drukhari, against Drukhari.
Oh, nice. Okay, and how was that?
So I was playing against a guy called Chris Irvin, who's one of Ennis's play group, and he was running a list of 6 raiders or what have you. And I had a few ideas of how I wanted to play this. And I ended up going second, which I thought was great for me, really good. But I flew over my first Void Raven bomber because flyers work for engaging all fronts, right? Mm-hmm. And I was like, I'm not too worried about bombing most of the stuff. I'll just try and bomb a few units and get myself in the corner for my engaging all fronts points because he can't really get it because he has no planes. Anyway, I drop 3 bombs on 3 raiders. I hit with all of them.
Wow, good start.
And yeah, I think I roll a 6, a 4, and a 3 on the damage. So I do 13 mortal wounds immediately. I'm like, that's pretty good.
Wow.
So next turn, I'll fly over with a second Void Raven bomber. Hit 3 units again, hit all 3. I roll a 6 and 2 5s. So over the course of 6 bombs from Void Raven bombers, or 6 bomb hits, I do 29 mortal wounds out of a possible 36. And the average is about 10.5.
But so high. Very high.
29 mortal wounds is more than Croak.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's great, arguably. I don't know if there's even that many. Are there even that many more? Say that again, sorry.
We worked it out. It's about 1 in 1,000 that you roll that high or higher.
Wow.
Really?
Okay.
I love it when that happens in a Warhammer game and something ridiculous happens and then you work out the odds and you're like, fucking hell.
I mean, it didn't matter because I thought I edged the game anyway, but it did matter because it meant that it would have been a 20-0. So, I mean,
I think also what's really interesting, Stu Paintus. So how do I say that? Stu Paintus. Stu Paintus.
Yeah.
Stu Paintus.
Yeah, Stu Paintus. Or like Stupendous. Stupendous.
Yeah,
the potential to spike is powerful. Is powerful sometimes. Yeah, I think that's fun. I think that's also what's really fun about playing at events. Oftentimes, is that if you don't really play much other than events, all of your random luck, good or bad, is always encased in a tournament. Like if that had happened, even game 1 at a tournament, Tom, you'd have been lolling. But if it had happened, let's say game 5. At an event, and you just lolling. Big lolling. You just be one-shot and stuff. You'd be like, "Lol, jokes. This is great."
Now I'm in the semi-finals of the winners bracket, and I'm playing against a guy called Simon Fitzpatrick, who's quite well rated by every Scottish player I've played against so far.
Okay.
And he's the only other Drukhari left in the winners bracket, so that should be a good game. I'm looking forward to it. See how that goes.
How do you feel about the power of the Drukhari, having played a few more games with it?
I still feel the same way about, from a personal perspective, as in I don't mind it individually, but however, if it is such a massive problem in the middle, the middle tables, then it needs to be addressed, right? Okay. And there is a precedent that the middle tables don't tend to adapt. A good example being Iron Hands, spinning the middle tables never did. Ynnari is difficult to tell because the build changed so quickly, because Games Workshop were quite quick on the nerfs of that one, right? Even when there was no real outcry, they kept going. It's just, I don't know.
Sorry, wait. There was no Nick. Were we not here
really.
outcrying during the time?
We were crying pretty loud.
Okay,
yeah, we were here with you crying, Tom.
Okay, well, I can give you the examples. So November.
We can give you the example. It was us shouting.
No, November 2017. No one said anything. We just randomly nerfed it in an FAQ in the middle of a week, 2 days before a major event.
Tom, we hated Yannari. Did we not talk about this?
After this nerf.
We hate them forever. I hate Craft World still.
I play them now.
Exactly.
I'm a Craft World player now, and I still hate them. I hate myself for playing them.
I'm saying that a lot of the Yannari nerfs weren't predicated off community outrage because there are objectively nerfs that happened to that book that weren't ever cried for.
Again, I'm sure me and Nick were livid.
I can give you the historical precedent. I just
okay, well, we'll go back. We don't want to mess with the Warhammer historian as you're setting up to be.
We weren't even streaming when that happened.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Fair enough, I guess. But also not fair enough because I think we were laughing. Do we need to check tape quotes? Do we need to check tapes to quote Halo? I don't know if we need to. Maybe.
Yeah, check tapes. Go back for the first couple of episodes that we ever did on 40k. Boom, off you
go. Right, okay. So, well, I'm glad you're both well. We'll move into the what the fuck is going on section of the world, and there's a couple of interesting bits. Initially, some pretty strong setup for a new AdMech book, which is looking pretty good. Breacher's getting a 2-up save. There's been a bit of a leak on that situation and that front, which is pretty bold. We talked about this on the show before, haven't we? How the numbers are probably getting bigger all across the board. And Breacher's having that 2-up save is pretty interesting. But again, it's without context, without points. We're not really sure. So I think that's kind of it's pretty exciting if you're an AdMech player. Ultimately, I'm quite excited. Nick, have you got any thoughts about AdMech generally, about where you like it to sit? And I guess the kind of question is, because we're also obviously leading up to the July updates. So we know that in July there's some pretty big overhaul. Maybe we're going to get a new chapter approved. Maybe we're going to get new missions. Maybe we're going to get new secondaries. So how do you feel about this kind of lead-up time to that, Nick?
In terms of what the book's going to be like?
Yeah. Like, you excited about it, mate? Not bothered? Or where you at?
I'm not personally that bothered because I've never really been that into AdMech. I would love a Dark Mechanicum army to come out. I quite like the aesthetic and how they look. I think they do look pretty cool, but I've never had one, so I don't feel that emotionally attached to them. I've never been that drawn to start an army because it's an army of robotic men, and I already have an army of robotic men in my Necrons. And I've played against them a couple of times, and they sort of just tend to have a couple of units which shoot a fuck ton of bullets, like the Cataphrone, What are the breaches? Are they the Castellan robots? They're the ones that had a million shots, and they had like a combo where they sit next to
20 a turn, I believe,
destroyers and just shoot loads. And they tend to be similar to Marines, how they kind of sat around Call or something like that, like a Gulliman style build. It'd be nice if they, I don't know if they would be more MSU, and it tends to because I've really been enjoying playing Death Guard and more MSU and not really focusing that much on aura buffs and things like that. So if I was ever to pick up them as an army, it'd be nice if they played more like that. I know the priests were pretty cool because they're like a combat unit, but they always struggled to get there until they had the floaty boats. But I think people will often moved away from the priests now, so it'd be interesting to see what they do with them if they still keep their sort of weird invulnerable save mechanic where they have to fight to get it. I imagine they'll probably just start with one now.
I think we're going to see bigger numbers. I think we might see more output from them as well, which I think is good. We've seen that across the board, actually, with the AdMech stuff, which is weird, because generally they're considered already to be a fairly good output army. I'm not necessarily certain, on that, high-end defensive side. And now we're going to see even, we've seen some, upgrades, obviously, with Breachers getting a 2-up save, but with the rest of the book, getting more output generally. I mean, the Cognis autocannons are wild numbers on those. So to see where
I don't mind numbers going up, but what I don't want to see is number of shots going up massively, because obviously one of the complaints that people had about 8th edition was they particularly with orcs, you can roll 1 million dice and achieve almost nothing. Whereas because I've with my Death Guard in this new edition, there's been a lot less because of the change to like the core keyword and stuff like that, and I think they have tidied up, certainly in some books anyway, the amount of rerolls and things that you do. So my Death Guard build that I've been playing, there's not that many rerolls happening, so it feels quicker from that point of view. So what I wouldn't like to see is like AdMech just get more shots than they already did and still have rerolls, and it just take a million years to roll dice and not a lot happen.
Okay.
It's like I'd be really interested to see what they do with orcs when they eventually come out, because like Orc Boy hordes had like 1 million attacks and did very little. Whether they just make the attacks hit better and hit harder but get fewer attacks, I think I'd prefer that rather than getting more attacks. Because who wants to sit there and roll 180 dice?
No one. So yeah, like I'm super on board with that. Tom, how do you feel about and also thanks to Neil talking about the big FAQ drops are in June, so we're actually not that far away from those FAQ drops with potentially new missions, potentially new secondaries, a bunch of different stuff. So really kind of hotting up to that. Tom, how do you feel about like the AdMech kind of leaks at the minute?
I haven't had a proper look at the leaks, and also, as you say, it's difficult to really tell without the context of things like points and how many things you can get in a unit and how you can buff them around that, right? But overall, I'm kind of excited for AdMech, to be honest. I feel like a lot of the AdMech you're seeing is just basically a case of how do we balance Scorpiuses and Palanes and priests in a list, right?
Yeah.
And how many of each do we fit in? And it gets kind of stale after a while. So I'm kind of hoping we get a book where there's a lot more variety in terms of what's good. I'd really hate for one thing to just be objectively better than everything else, especially if it's like Cataphren, Breaches and Destroyers, because we've already seen a lot of those recently. And so there's a lot of people just with Breacher armies just sat in their cupboards. And also the current plain kind of vehicle meta as well. I'd rather see either something new be the top dog, which is something is not really something I want to see, because it just means, oh, the goalpost again, best buy a new army. I'd rather see a book where you could take a variety of different builds and they're all kind of good. A good example of something I see with this is Necrons, actually. I don't think Necron's a particularly strong book, but there is no one clear best build, right?
Do you think that's because they have access to army-wide OBSEC, so everything can be relevant?
Potentially, yeah, potentially, 100%. And also, you see people like playing the Necron Warrior Horde and that kind of stuff. You see people playing Wraiths and Scarabs and triple Catans and what have you. But you don't really see like a variety in other books, really. Like even Space Marines are starting to calm down now. You either see some kind of AdMech list, Dark Angels list, even with the Terminators, or you see Vanguard Veterans of White Skulls or Space Wolves. And that's kind of what you see for Space Marines. Death Guard, you see double Death Shroud Terminators with characters. You're starting to see them calm down a bit more now, whereas with Necrons, I don't know if it's because no one's trying to innovate with them because they're not seen as a good book, but we've got a lot of variety in terms of what they play with. Even Drakari to some degree, like you see a little bit of variety, but that's still people working it out because it all looks so strong. And for example, Skari now switching to, the Void Raven Bomber. We got you in the end, champ. Good.
Yeah, you got it.
we got you in the end. So yeah, I'm hoping we see a book where we see a lot more variety than what we currently get, but I'm not necessarily optimistic about that. I'm just kind of hopeful because I'm not a massive fan of where we are right now.
Yeah, and I think there's something to be said about that. Datcom, thanks very much for resubscribing. Big love to you. I think one of the things that is a big push from us and is always the healthy conversation is you want the very best internal parity for a book, so as many of your toys are viable as possible. And then you also want your book to be there to be some great external parity. Games Workshop often fuck up on the the external parity, and arguably the internal parity as well. But hopefully maybe we'll see that swap around in the future. We're not sure. I guess if you just make everything bonkers strong, then it's all good. Like you just make it all mental, then we're having a great time. And I'm keen for that.
There's an example right here in my hand. Before the show went live, we were having a talk about what kind of guns do I stick on my Necron Warriors. And I was like, either's fine. I'm going to go for the option that looks coolest. So
I think it's because either are fine because neither are like the top pick, right? They're both
okay.
Yeah. But on the other side, they're both great. Let's approach it from that angle, which I think is fine.
Internal parity is great because it's all contextually awful.
So just before we move on to Orcs, Nick, I know you've been keeping track. Where is Drakari at win percentage-wise this week?
Currently still 71.26% after almost 290 games. Well, around 290 games, 71. 0.26% win.
It's pretty good.
Average VP is
Wow.
77. Yeah, so still pretty good.
Still pretty
So all
good.
this talk of, let the meta settle. Everyone calm down. Oh, cat's biting.
So yeah,
Everyone calm down.
16%
Everyone
A
calm
week
down.
where
over.
it's just seven
Relax.
Americans playing it isn't really, really settling, but okay.
16% above like what's even close to acceptable, which is wild. So yeah, long may it continue. Long may it continue. I say, continue on with that. Okay, so yeah, very strong.
I hope it continues right up until the point that I can go to a proper tournament. The day before I go, then it changes.
Yeah. If anything, the Americans should suffer for going out and playing. So they can just play through it. Not the Aussies, though.
Is this their karma?
Yeah, this is their karma. Yeah.
So basically, this is the 200 IQ player from Games Workshop, Rob. Americans are all going out and playing in tournaments, heavily irresponsible. Okay, What's one way we can keep them from doing that?
Well,
Busting the game so bad that no one wants to go.
Menace.
Release the Drakari.
Release the menace. That's what they said.
Good on them. Good on them.
Out.
Taking some positive health action.
Games Workshop have involved in humanitarian action once again. Good on them.
Well done, team. All right. Well, I mean, still crazy strong. Like that conversation's been had to death. It doesn't need to be had anymore. Obviously, you'd like there to be some sort of fix, but with the FAQ out and us waiting for June, so I mean, it's still like a month at least of that situation, which I think is it's going to be pretty wild. Like depending on where it lands in June as well. If it's early June, then maybe like it's only 2 or 3 more weeks. But if it's like late June, like it's a significant amount of time for them to in the records of 9th edition for there to be the do you remember the Drakari issue. Although I think we've already established their place in history now at this stage. Okay, I mean, what can you do about it? Nothing, just
Play Grey Knights.
or not that because they're getting a new book, which leads us on to the announcements. On Friday, we weren't live. Well, we kind of were live, but we weren't live, so the actual Spy Center wasn't live. So it's the first time we get to talk about orcs. 3 orc players on the show. 3 orc players of new orcs. That battle box. I've heard it's already sold out. I've made that joke 4 times now. So
is that just off pre-order?
It probably is. It's probably half of them have probably gone to content creators. And
the other half from Warhammer World store, and then maybe they throw out some to the local stores if they're feeling lucky.
Yeah, and the managers and
yeah.
There's maybe 5 left.
Zero to any like stores in other countries. Like
I've discovered this, right? Like if I ever want to buy something where I'm not sure if it's going to be in stock, just go to Warhammer World because they have all of it. All of the stock is in Warhammer World. Like I went to my local store and there were no Bellicors on the shelf just to buy some paint. But when I came down to Nottingham the other week and drove past Warhammer World on the way back to Junction 25 and I thought, you know what, I'll stop in. If I have a Bellicor, I'll have one. I walk in, 9 Bellicors on the shelf. I'm like,
wow,
what's going on here? Something must be happening, right? Surely.
Yeah.
It's not like the shop is dead. Because someone else bought a Bellicor when I went in.
Learn Trade Play says Warhammer World is a long way to go from Spain. Apologies about that.
I have all the stock.
Yeah, they have all the stock. We'd send it to you, but we can't. We can't get anything out of the British Isles at the minute. But yeah, you got to pay full retail, Tom.
You do. But it was there, so
Yes, that's the tax, isn't it? That's how they get you. Right. So, well, then Tom will be third party selling Beastnagger boxes, I assume. So the Beastnagger box is. We talk about this as a format. It's 20 Orc Boys, 2 characters, and then a unit of Squig Riders as well. Now, how do you two feel about the box, which follows it doesn't quite follow Indomitus, but it follows the Sisters of Battle box, where it's a limited edition codex in a box with a bunch of new sculpts, probably before the actual codex comes out. So as Orc players, how do you feel about it? Nick, how do you feel about the fact that you're going to have to get the box to get the codex? There's no other way to get the codex. You won't be able to get it digitally. Well, how are you feeling about that situation?
I'm absolutely outraged by it.
Okay, good.
Because I've struggled to get all of the codexes digitally so far this edition.
Yeah.
It's not really good, is it? Like it's an army that loads of people have. Loads of people love orcs because they're so characterful and fun and cool, And so yeah, having a limited edition release with this is a bit shit, particularly if it sells out really quickly. And then there's going to be the haves and the have-nots who have it and don't. I'm not too worried about the models being limited to this box because depending on what the rules are, I presume this is like an Orc Primaris kind of release where the Snagger boys are better than the normal boys. But I'm probably, if that's the case, I'm probably just going to say to my mates or tournaments that I go, well, depending on the tournaments I go to, like, can I just use my normal boys as these boys if I'm really that bothered? Like at friends' houses, I'm sure everyone will be super cool with that. Like obviously Games Workshop won't be. Maybe an independent tournament will be potentially. But like one example for the Squig dudes, if you can't get those models, get the Age of Sigmar Auric. What are they called? Gorgrunters. Yeah, they're probably relatively similar size, look similar, and would be a pretty nice like for like proxy. If you can't get those models, I'd just do that instead.
Yeah, I think that's super fair. Encore Gem, thank you for resubscribing. Tom, how do you feel about like at least the codex being behind the paywall? Before we talk about the models,
so the code, this is the new codex, right?
Yes, it's a new codex.
Okay.
It's a new Orc codex.
I am bloody livid that Games Workshop are going to make me drive 45 minutes down the M1 on my Saturday morning to go and buy this shit. Okay,
and queue up,
which will happen. I will be there in the queue at the front in my tent. Getting the Orc box along with my Call of Duty Black Ops 4. It's a pain in the ass, isn't it? Really, cover art looks kind of nice. I like that. You know.
Well, I mean, I don't think any of us need to like bang on the harp that it'll be frustrating and that it will sell out. But I guess let's talk about the models. How do you guys feel?
So can I go over some very quickly because it was more my point with the limited edition stuff. I'm actually kind of concerned about this because I still remember when that Chaos Space Marines box dropped with the new Obliterators and the Venom Crawler. I believe you can get in a start collecting set now, and the Disco Lord I think you can get as his own model, but we still haven't seen all the units from there released independently.
Obliterators.
Yeah, this is the thing. And Obliterators have always been like a staple of the competitive Chaos Marine lists. Every single list you've ever seen, since 5th edition to now, you'd have people saying, oh, Obliterators are great. Every single iteration of a book. Not necessarily every single list, but every single iteration of a book. So I'm a little bit concerned just because I don't know when you're going to see these models, and they're kind of cool. So if I wanted to run a full naked Orc army, I'm a bit worried about whether or not I'd have to, and therefore I may just buy 5 boxes.
Oh, really?
No, probably not, but I feel like I would have to just to make sure I've got the models, right? But I'm not going to because I'm not a disgusting hoarder, he says, building a second Indomitus box. So
you sound like a hoarder. I'm just going to put that out there.
I'll have you know I won this box. Thank you very much.
That's true. Nick, how do you feel about the models?
The models look really nice. Yeah, I like the big Squig Riders. They look pretty cool. The new Orc boys do look not too dissimilar. But like just a more slightly updated version of them. Yeah, I really like them. I like the Orc choppers with like the mini chainsword bit. That's pretty cool.
Those are cool.
The new Pain Boy with the grot on like a little unicycle thing looks hilarious. I really like the War Boss with the like the grot gunner on top. That's pretty cool. So yeah, I think they're all pretty sweet models. Yep. But what I was going to say about the box being limited and maybe all these models being limited, and like other models like Obliterators and stuff like that, because majority, or I would probably say that the majority of either casual games or tournament games happen at more independent venues. The fact that some models are limited, do we think it's actually a problem because people either convert stuff or use proxies, or scratch build, or 3D print stuff, and people just like Warhammer hobbyists find a way rather than having to rely definitely on buying the official models? I think it's only really an issue if tournament organizers or stores or places like Warhammer World enforce the fact that you have to use the official model.
I just feel like it's a bit weird if at Games Workshop make it difficult for you to use the official model, and then they enforce it. You have to use the official model.
Yeah, I mean, more on that later. That kind of ties into the main story of today, which is the Games Workshop Pro Tour, which we saw announced earlier in the week. That Pro Tour in brackets. Yeah, I think Nick, your point is super okay. And on the limited nature of it, Encore Gem says, I just hope the Codex comes out at the same time, having a tournament circuit in effect where 1 in 1,000 players of a faction has access to the latest Codex will be a cluster. And I agree with that. I think I'm very excited about Orcs. I'd like to be super clear about that. I'm very excited about all of the Orcs. I think the models look sublime. I'm really into them. I think they all look really, really cool. Actually, not too keen on the weird character who's not on a squig. He's fine.
Get a haircut and he'll be all right.
Yeah, I guess so. I'm not super keen. But what I am keen about, I think that the boys look amazing, because ultimately, the thing that really gets me is, I really like kind of troop choices in armies a lot of the time. That's what I think carries an army a lot. Especially because the characters just don't sit, I don't know, a captain versus a lieutenant, just does zero for me. A technoman, you could put any model in front of me, Nick, and be like, this guy's the technomancer and this guy's the other guy. I'll be like, cool, whatever you want, man.
Yeah.
Do you want to hear a funny story, by the way?
Yeah, please.
So, final round of ETC in 2019.
Yeah.
We're playing against UN Team 2, and we have our captain, Gaz Jones, legendary 40k player. He used to be insane, right? He's still able to hang on this level. It's insane. He was playing Craft Worlds against Orcs, and he couldn't tell what the fuck each Big Mech was. He had no idea which one was the shock attack gun, which one the Big Mech or the KFF was, and so on. So he sees this Big Mech. He asks this Eastern European guy, "Is this the shock attack gun?" He's like, "Yes, very good." So Gaz commits, flies all his planes to try and kill this Big Mech. Kills all the boys, kills the Big Mech. Next turn, Eastern European guy, "Yes, so I shoot you with my shock attack gun." And Gaz fun.
Because he's like, no.
And he's killed the wrong Big Mech.
Because
So
sometimes
we had a big hoo-ha with the refs. It was like Gaz was so cross because, as far as he was concerned, his opponent had told him this was the shock attack gun and he'd killed it. But because he couldn't tell the difference between the models, he couldn't know himself what the difference was. So, similar vein. That happens to everyone, mate. I wouldn't worry about it.
Yeah, it's not. I'm not worried about it. What I more mean is in some, and like Collery says in the chat, I don't have a fucking clue what Orc units are. It's only made harder because everyone kit bashes them out of literal junk, which I completely agree with as well. But to cycle back to the models, I think Orc boys needed Primarising. I'm sure they're not. I'm sure Orc boys are in the Codex along with the Snagger boys, but I'm pretty certain the Snagger boys are going to be loads better. For some reason, there'll be two.
They'll be the
wounds.
same points, but with an extra wound and AP on their attacks.
Yeah, or something. Yeah, exactly.
No logical reason that will be the case.
But you can take 20 of them as opposed to 30. There's some sort of something. Exactly like Tactical Marines, and I'm kind of here for it if I'm honest, Nick. I don't want to invalidate your models, but at a certain point there is I'm not saying it needs to be 3 years, but it's been a billion since those Orc boys came out? I'm not sure.
Several. It was the 90s at least when they dropped, right?
Yeah, we've been through several fashion trends. I think at the time they dropped, maybe people were into Blur. When did you last listen to Blur?
I don't
or
know
Oasis?
Blur is too much of a Gen Z, I'm afraid.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Tom, you were watching I don't even know, Teletubbies,
I was watching cartoons. I'm still doing so. It's kind of a problem.
But Nick, I know you're probably not pro this kind of point of view, but there has to be some conversation from us at some point where stuff just kind of has to go out. It just has to go by the wayside.
I can see that, but why can't it be? They just update the Orc boys kit and they go, "Oh, we've got these sweet new models that are way better than the old ones. Buy them because they look cool."
Yeah,
not
instead of forcing
in commas to buy the new ones because they're a different keyword.
Yeah, that's
so long as
you cannot use you can't use those anymore.
Well, here's a conversation. So long as we're on the same base size, why does it matter? We don't even really use true line of sight anymore if we've got obscuring terrain.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So what's the point?
Yeah, what's the point? Yeah, just let people use their cool toys.
Oh, right, yeah. Okay, yeah, good point. I agree with that. And Nick, I completely agree with that sentiment. Like, super on board with it. Like, you know, like, I think that's the fair point, but we kind of had to go through the process to, like, arrive at the conclusion. The new units, though, are cool. They're obviously not replacements for anything. Like, Snagger Boys, by the way, I think are, like, 11 out of 10. Like, 11 out of 10. Like, they make me want to, like, start a new Orc army. Well, I have to because I sold it. But, like, start an Orc army, but, like, very piecemeal. Like I'd like to do a really nice job on painting them. So if they suck, so I am going to wait till the codex comes out, because if those elements of the book suck, I just won't get them. But I'll be disappointed. I probably would only buy into this army at the moment if it really worked around a lot of the newer kits. You know, if for some reason, I don't know, flash kits were good. They're probably not new enough for me to like care about. Like I know they're still fairly new.
Cast at the minute. Yeah.
You what?
It's still fine cast at the minute.
Yeah, like I want the newer stuff to be good. This is one of those situations where like I bought into orcs pretty heavily at one point, but a lot of the range was quite old, and like if I'm going to start an orc army again, I would like the stuff that's new and fancy to be good. And I know that doesn't really work for players who already own an army, but you know, like I don't know who sat on an Eldar army at the moment thinking I should keep hold of this. Like surely they're all getting updated. They should, like, that would be the one I would kind of throw at the moment. I'd flog that, and I'd be like, okay, I'm going to rebuy into the army when it comes out. But exciting times.
You know what I want to be good?
What?
So the reason one of the units that inspired me to start an Orc army was Burner Boys in a Chinook.
Yep.
And I built these before the last Orc Codex came out and before they had some rules in the Psychic Awakening. So I built my Chinooks, built my Burner Boys, got them all ready. The Codex came out. Burner Boys were shit and got nothing, and Chinook was still existed. Then the Psychic Awakening came out. They got no additional extra rules apart from some custom clan, which was liked flamers where you could like re-roll the number of hits or some shite.
Yeah.
And then they've legended Chinooks. So I'm just hoping that this new Chinooks are gone, and I have three scratch built. They're gone, and I'm just praying to all of the gods that Burner Boys are good in this new book. So I feel like they deserve it, and I feel like do they deserve it? Maybe that's just me because I really want them to be good. Maybe they're just going to be still. They're not a snagger, beast snagger thing. They're probably just going to be in the shit still. But I think they should be. They could be like really good in combat, because I think they did have AP in combat, but they could just make him like better power swords in combat.
Well, I think they're going to make new Burner Boys, right? Like, there's no way they're keeping Burner Boys as is. Like, there'll be new Burner Boys because they're a billion years old, Nick, as models, aren't they?
It's the same as the Burner Boys kit. I think that's 2010, isn't it? No, it can't
Burner
be.
Boys have got to be old kits.
Older,
like
yeah, definitely
oldish.
Because they're like little rectangular ones rather than the big kind of.
Yeah, no, too old. Yeah. Too old for me. I want new. I want new generation orcs, and I'm okay with it. Like, I think it's about time. I get it, because, Nick, you're a classic orc player. You're like, do you know what? Well, I'll just build 800 orcs out of things I find. Like, and I get it. Like, it's very orky, but, like, I'm not that powerful. I want to just be given the pretty sculpts and put them together, so I think I'm all right with it.
I want to see this book.
So,
I want to see mech guns that don't cost 30 quid.
You want to see mech guns that don't cost 30 quid?
New mech guns. Yeah, that's what I want to see. Over Burner Boys, I want to see mech guns, because.
So do you think like what sort of like? Here's a question. One of the really weird things I thought about the last Orc book, at least in my opinion, and also Orcs, because they only got one book in the last edition, and Orcs generally during 8th edition, was they felt more like a shooty army than they felt like a combat army. They definitely had combat. Obviously, you had your big bricker boys to jump in around, but they didn't really feel like that was their shtick. And what's interesting with kind of like the meta now for 40k is you would hope that they can go toe-to-toe in melee, but there's some big asks, right? You're asking them to punch through Death Guard and Dark Angel Terminators. You're asking them to fight Vanguard Vets. You're asking them to fight, like, Witch Cults. Like, it's a big ask. Like, they've got to get a significant upgrade to their melee output, right? Like across the board. I think that's what's kind of interesting.
Yeah. And I feel like they're going to put more of those kind of like rules resources, if I can call it that, not into the boys to compete in combat. I think the boys will still just be board control, chaff, if you will, or like blocking units, and they'll just like still do maybe some attacks. Maybe they go some AP, but I feel like they're gonna, and I hope that they make stuff like Mega Knobs better. So Mega Knobs were okay, I think. But if they just gave them a bit of a boost, then I think because they seem to be like making Terminators really good across every army. Mega Armored Knobs are kind of Terminator equivalent, so it'd be nice if they made them really strong.
I don't know if the issue was ever that they weren't good enough in combat and they were just better at shooting. I feel like shooting in general was just better. Like when you
but hold on, like Mega Knobs now had no invuln, right?
Sure.
A good example. A good example would be Custodes, right? Like Custodes had their time in the sun with the Caladius tanks, of course. Yeah. But generally, if you're a Custodes player, you were womping around with your good armor save and your good invuln save. That's what you were there for, right? Yeah. Same as your Smash Captain with Thunderhammer and Storm Shield. They had some melee. But what's weird was an Orc boss was never really that. Like you had the guy on the bike, maybe a bit, kind of. Yeah, was where you're at.
He was just fast and just hit himself rather than having an honorable save.
Yeah, whereas like what I would really like to see, actually, and Everblight in the chat has actually made a really, really good point as well, because and touches on what Tom was saying actually about diversity inside of the book, is that like number one, I'd like to see melee be a thing because I really feel that's where Orcs at. Like I get the Daka meme, I get it, like more Daka, like I get the meme, but like they're brutish thugs. They should be smashing stuff, right? And then they should be given the rules to do that.
Yeah.
And I think one of the... Sorry, go on, Tom.
No, you go for it, because you finish your point and then I'll fully
Well, the follow-on was going to be... And that's just that side of it. Dread Mob, any of the killer cans, any of those builds being a thing would be pretty sweet as well. Like, I mean, we can give up on all of the Forge World models, right? We can give up on Grot Tanks. We can give up on all of that stuff. Like, that's going to go straight away into the bin. So, like...
Yeah, but Killer Cans and those Dreadnoughts are as old as the Burner Boy kit.
Oh, so I'm with you. Like, I think that they should change and or upgrade them. Like, just get us some new kits. I think they'd look wicked too. If this is the refresh, let's get the whole refresh is what I'm saying. Like, and give them more ways to play. Give them a shooting option, because that's where it started off with Tom talking about mech guns, right? They've got artillery pieces in their mech guns, Gorkanauts, Morkanauts, make them viable somehow in some way. Like, make it so that the vehicle elements of it are good, but also that the infantry... And it's not just how many bodies can I put on the board and flood the board with, which is pretty much like... And can I lol jokes roll loads of 2d6s on this one dumb gun with like 8 CP?
This is the thing.
Go on, Tom, after you.
This is the thing. So the main issue was never that they were bad in melee, I don't think. I think the main issue is that you could never actually ever get them in. You had two ways to do it. You had running across the board and then hoping that you live long enough to get there, which involves flooding the board with dudes. And then you had to jump deep striking from the teleportarium, 2d6 charge with a +1 rerolling one of both dice, right? And the odds on that were like 73%, something like that, succeeding with Evil Sons, right? Which basically meant you always had to take Evil Sons. Hooray for diversity there, I guess. Yeah. But even then, though, like with 73%, you still felt that. It never felt like 73%. It felt like more like a 60-40 or a 50-50.
Yeah.
Just because the way you remember it. So it would never, whenever you were to play an all melee Orc army, you'd think, oh man, I would have won this game, but I couldn't get my boys across the board enough because they all got shot too early, or but I failed this crucial charge to jump and it cost me the game. Whereas when you have the option of taking 18 mech guns and 15 looters with bad moons where you double the firing of them and a super shock attack gun from Vigilus, it would always at least feel consistent. Sometimes you would have issues where you felt like you'd fire an entire army and you'd never kill it, but it was much less inconsistent than actually charging things. And the question is, the age-old question, how do you get things into melee?
I think the change to 9th made it a bit easier. Because the boards are smaller, and because I played like as many Orc bodies as I could as an army towards the end of 8th and a little bit at the start of 9th. And I think it was slightly better at the start of 9th, just because like the boards are smaller. So, and you can get on to the mid-board objectives and that mattered, whereas 8th edition, that wasn't really part of the game.
Yeah.
But I fully agree with what Tom said about it. Always kind of came down to that one or two charges that won and lost you the game. And I do kind of enjoy playing a Horde of Orcs. I think it looks amazing. I think, and I think it's fun to play because it's all about movement and your micromanagement of your pilings and charges and stuff like that. And that's where the skill of playing that army comes from. So I think that's really enjoyable. But also, it was sometimes not fun because you spent a lot of time just taking models off the table. So my turn was like I move, run, move there, and your opponent spends half an hour shooting you, and you're removing models all over the place. Then you green tide more one for them to shoot.
Exactly.
Off. And you don't do a lot.
Dude.
You don't do a lot in the game. You're just moving and taking models off for the entire game.
It wasn't even just for taking off, but I get your point. Like, one of the issues was you spend so long painting them and you've got to take them all off, and you've got to make sure you allocate them to know which squad is which, so when you green tide, you know which ones to bring back on. It just felt more like an admin exercise.
Which is weird, right? Because like why am I doing so much micromanagement and like key skills here when like it's meant to be like a fun, insane army. All right, let's play a fun game because I just want to round this off really fun. We're going to go through all of the available Orc kits from Games Workshop at the moment. Yeah, and Nick, Tom, Twitch chat, this is what I want to hear from you. I either want to hear you keep them, you get rid of them, or you upgrade them. Yeah, and the upgrade could be a new kit or some new rules. That's what I want to see. So keep, throw it in the bin, yeah, or upgrade it. That's what I kind of want to see. So let's fly through this. Oh, by the way, we also saw leaks for Ghazghkull, right? Ghazghkull with a rapid-fire 12 gun.
Ooh, baby.
Yeah. Very funny. Yeah,
that is more Daka.
That is more Daka.
Still not enough.
Yeah, not enough. He's also a monster, so don't forget. So we'll ignore Ghazghkull. All right, so we'll start with the first truck. Rooker Truck Squig Buggy. I love the trucks, but I don't want the trucks to be how I think of an Orc army. They should be a fun little side project, like not like the core element of an army. So, Nick, where you at?
Get rid of it.
Oh, nice. Tom?
Yeah.
Bin.
Yeah, bin. Same here. Like obviously keep it, but like just I don't want it to be the core why a book is good. Orc Boys. Nick, keep, upgrade. Or bin?
Oh, sorry.
Upgrade.
Upgrade. Okay, their rules
Custom
or the models because they've upgraded their models to Snagger Boys.
The rules. The rules.
Tom?
Upgrade.
Yeah, upgrade to the Snagger Boys, which we've got. So super happy about that. So Orc Boys throw in the bin is what I'm saying. Mega Knobs. What do you want with that? Tom?
Upgrade.
Oh, upgrade rules. Are we all thinking upgrade rules? No new models?
I just upgrade the models. I'm not even talking about rules. Whenever I talk about this, it's just models. I'm going for upgrade.
Okay. I'm going for upgrade the rules. I think the Mega Knob models can stay. I think they're okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right, next up, the Gorkanaut.
I just probably just keep it, but maybe just upgrade the rules again, I guess.
Tom?
So I think it's quite a cool model.
Bin.
Bin it. Throw it away. How come?
I don't think it's very cool. I don't like it. And also, by getting rid of things like this, you can make more room in the book for cooler new concepts.
Okay, fair enough.
I'm being full-on scorched earth here.
Okay, that's fair. I think keep, because it's very, but it's pretty fugly. So anyway, Orc Gretchen, we can skip them, because obviously keep them forever, upgrade them to the best Orc Gretchen in the world. Met Guns.
Bin.
Okay.
Bin.
Tom?
Bin.
Really? Throw them in the bin? Why? Why, you bastards?
Why are they a unit?
Because
I think Gretchen Artillery,
and it makes me throw up a little bit in my mouth every time I think about playing them again.
Yeah. Only because that ruffle stomped that unit last time we played. Okay, all right. I think keep them because I think it adds a nice role in the army, which nothing else really does. Burner Bombers.
I think amalgamate all the planes into one kit.
Yes.
And 2 units. Yeah.
Yeah. I think make it so you can just build any Orc plane and just be like, this
Same
is this
with
plane.
the buggies, by the way.
And that's what I've done.
Oh, that's what you've done.
I've made my own, and I've just all the weapon options are just magnetized, and they just change the weapon.
I can see what's coming up next, by the way. I'm ready.
The Stomper. Let me go first. Throw it in the bin.
No! What?
Yeah.
How could you do such a thing?
It's not that it's not cool. It's just whatever. Just sling it, man. Like, just
Right.
catapult it. Like, what
Me and
is
Nick
it?
are going to make our own podcast now. Fuck you. I'm done.
Nick, how do you feel
Yeah.
about this?
I'm with Tom.
Yeah.
We're
Fuck off,
splitting. We're gonna start this Stomper podcast.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Like, yeah, sure.
We're going to get Scrivo to make us some art that's just two stompers with
It's
our
just
heads
like,
on.
it's just like, what the fuck? Like, where do you give it Mortarian rules? Like, what'd you do? What'd you do? Like,
Just make it 500 points.
Yeah, true.
Fine.
Tell him what's up.
yeah, fine. Flash Gits. What you up with Flash Gits? Bin.
I would kind of like to see a slightly different version, because they're kind of like they're the ones with that little almost plasma style weapon. Well, like a fancy
Def
gun,
guns.
right?
Yeah.
They've got like, a good AP and damage. Like an orc unit that I would love to see Games Workshop make. You know how orcs love to loot things?
Yeah.
And it's kind of an army that I kind of considered trying and would like to do if I had infinite money. Just orcs that have kind of like wrecked a Space Marine chapter or army and looted all of their tech. So like orc meganobs, like in like they've taken apart Terminator armor and put it on themselves, or like orc knobs with like Primaris armor and shoulder pads, and like orc cosplaying Marines would be amazing. And I think you could do like a Marine army but orc Marines, so it could be quite a dual army.
That would
So
be
I'd
cool.
love to see a sweet sort of mixed orc and Marine kit.
You mean like Glover's Necro-Orcs army or Orcron army, but with Marines?
There's quite like Brad.
Brad.
Yeah, Brad's done loads of those sort of combination armies, like his Gene Stealer, Orc army, and now his Lizard Men Tyrannid army. Yeah.
Wolf Wargaming says the best version he's seen is Cussed Orcs. So cool. There's someone doing that on Reddit, calling them Space Morons. Play it on Space Marines. That's very interesting. We'll go find that. Flash Gits, I would like them to keep. I would like them to find I'd like there to be a melee unit for orcs, which you assume there should be, who are at least as interesting as Flash Gits. Like, there's so much effort put into Flash Gits kit, like, and then you're like, give me like a melee unit for God's sakes, man. It's weird. Morkanaut, same feelings as the other one.
Yeah. It just goes in the bin. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Battle Wagon. What are you doing with that? Nick?
Battle Wagon. I'm not bothered about that. Get rid of it. It's just a tank with a gun, right?
It's a historical artifact, mate. You can't just put it in the bin. It's just a gun, isn't it?
This isn't the one with the red roller.
Mate, it's
it's the kit you build. You build it from the Battle Wagon, right? Like, it could be any of them.
I'm not that bothered.
Oh, mate, it's like finding that old, famous Saxon helmet, just picking it up and going, "It's just shitty metal, isn't it?" And just lobbing it in the bin.
Hi, fish.
No.
Yeah, like I would. Like I would like to. Like I'm much more interested in the squigs, like the orcs riding the squigs. Like I like fuck it off. Just like there can be some trucks, cool, some lads in a truck. But like, I want to see some big swole boys on some beasts beating some stuff up.
I'm less interested in orc technology that looks like other people's technology. Like, well, I guess like a Gorkanaut is kind of like just a big dreadnought, and like a Death Dread is kind of that. Yeah. But like, it's a bit more wacky.
I tell you what, I'll give you this: you can bin off all of the data sheets from the Battle Wagon, apart from the Battle Wagon itself. Like
what? Not the red roller.
And that's just a relic, though, right? That's just
it's a relic. But sorry, but you like, because there's the hard case. There's the different upgrades, right?
Yeah, you keep those. What I mean is, you know how you've got like different variants of the Battle Wagon.
Yeah,
that's what they're called right now. But bin them all off, just one Battle Wagon, and then you can like give it certain upgrades, like give it some guns, or like just like the old 5th edition Codex, mate.
I want it to be super cheap, like because it's in a weird place. Because all of the orcs. Oh, we could talk about this forever. We could literally talk about the Orc Codex for several shows. All three of us could. There's a lot of love for the Orc Codex. Weird boy, upgrade the Weird Boy because he looks awful in his fine cast.
He's also fine cast, awful, terrible. Yeah, upgrade that.
All of the fine cast characters, we can just skip that straight away. Storm Boys.
Bin Badrock. Keep Storm Boys. I think they're really funny.
But like, I want to upgrade the models for Storm Boys.
I would want to, but I don't think they're like super high on my priority list. I'd rather upgrade things like the burners and the boys and all that kind of stuff first, rather than that.
I'm looking at looters and burners right now, and I can't believe anyone ever bought them recently. Is all I'm going to say. But like that's a side note. Go on, Nick. What are you saying about Storm Boys?
I quite like Storm Boys, but I want to see a different model kit. I want to see orcs on hoverboards. I want to see them on like rocket pogo sticks.
Nice.
Like actual like mechanical wings, just like all sorts of different flying machines.
Okay, yeah, no, I'm into that.
Just
I like little like personal helicopter blades.
Yeah, like a hat with a personal helicopter blade, or maybe like an Iron Man suit.
Oh yeah. Those would be fantastic. I'm just more worried about the fine cast stuff first. We can't overwork the design department with our ideas. Okay.
No, I'm with you. I'm with you. But yeah, Storm Boys. I would keep the unit in the game, but I want an upgrade kit. Orc looters and then Orc burner boys, which are the dual kit. Just again, I like them. See, what's really interesting is as we've gone through, right? Like you like shooting unit, shooting unit, shooting unit, shooting unit. You like they're cool. Burner boys and looters, like the roles that they have, like some long range kind of rapid fire, and the burner boys. Although the looters surely are basically replaced by the flash kits. You can just fuck off looters completely. Flash kits can fill that role as an orc with some sort of long range gun. So just fuck looters off forever and throw them in the bin.
It depends if you're binning with flash kits like I am or not.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
You can't keep one of two.
Yeah, Chris says pogo sticks with scatter dice for movement is perfect, or at least random movement. 2d6 range on your, or 3d6 on your pogo stick.
Fine, but can we make that a crusade roll, please?
Isn't Crusade so good? Have you ever thought, I like Crusade so much, I'd like it to be in a separate book to the book I buy?
Isn't that what tactical deployment is for?
I keep trying to get tickets to all the Crusade events around me, but they're all sold out.
All sold out. They're just.
I mean, I was listening to that podcast you were doing with Jim the other day, mate. You were talking about like the biggest flops that Games Workshop had recently released, mate.
Yeah.
This book was such a flop, but you forgot it was a flop.
What was
Actually, it's a rain book.
Oh yeah, I forgot it existed. It was pretty wild. All right, Burner Boys. But what we're at with Burner Boys?
Upgrade them.
Upgrade.
100%.
Okay, I'm with that. They're a different role. Although I would like them to be more like flame-throwing Molotov boys. I'd like them to be like short range. They're like fighters, but they like throw stuff and they set their hands on fire or something.
I kind of want to see them be similar to like aggressors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like make them mega armor, but have like two flamers and then like you say, like little Molotov cocktail throwing things on their back, just like pumping out little explosions.
Yeah, they're just surrounded by explosions all the time and fire. Yeah. I'd like to see that. Tom, where you at with Burner Boys? Did you say?
Upgrade them, 100%. Yeah, 100% upgrade this.
Okay, Orc Knobs.
Upgrade them because I want to see them be either shooty knobs or choppy knobs, not some choppy knobs with a couple of shooty weapons in there. It's weird.
Yeah, same. I want to see like brutes from Age of Sigmar level like knobs. I want to see big, swole, husky like custodies, bigger sort of dudes.
At the minute, they're more like Chosen or Sternguard, where they're just orcs with an extra wound and they have the ability to take some more weapons.
Yeah, they really, they're not given the clout right. Or Nick, what are you with knobs?
Well, I'm with you today in the chat. I just want to see bigger knobs.
Same. You and me both. Right, so Deathcopter. I'm taking this one straight in the bin, like straight 100%. In the bin.
That thing has not been relevant since Black Reach.
And I don't want and again,
speaking of models like which have been released in a box and never had an official release, I can't believe how many Deathcopters are around and still available, even though they never really had a box, right? I'm sure they were only ever in Black Reach.
Just like
there seems to be a million of them.
They've got to go in the bin. Number one, how can they honestly sell that kit? That's embarrassing. Is the first part. Like when they were going through or 8th edition Orc Codex, they were like, yeah, okay, keep that. Orc boys, yeah, okay. Deathcopter, keep this.
To be fair, that looks insanely. I think you could just use that as Storm Boys.
Give it a Storm Boy champion.
Yeah, name it the Storm Boy kit.
Right,
looks like Porky from League of Legends.
Yeah, so just get rid of that, and I just just have the Storm Boy flying unit. That's fine. We're good on that front. Okay, so big mech with shock attack gun, we can keep him. It's not an issue.
Yeah. New model, Tank Busters upgrade, Commandos upgrade.
Yeah, Tank Busters and Commandos. You upgrading those as well, Nick?
Yeah, I quite like the Tank Busters. I think they're cool. Just dudes with rockets.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I didn't. I'd forgot the Warbiker mob was even a kit.
That's a new kit, though, right? That's a new kit.
I know. I forgot it was a kit. Keep it, of course, but give it better rules.
Yeah. 100%. Give it new bases. I think that's it. I never got new bases. Cool, fine.
Because they suck. I think that would be it would be better if they were cooler. I think because I would rather see like tribes of Warbiker mobs than I would like another bunch of buggies battling against me. Do you not think? Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Truck. How do you feel about the truck?
I mean, I guess you'd keep it just because it gives you an option to transport some boys around. But I prefer my boys in bigger groups.
Yeah,
rather than small groups.
Yeah. Tom, how do you feel about trucks?
Keep that. I think we can keep the Death Killer Wartrike, which is up next too.
Yeah, because that's a new kit. The Mech Boy Workshop. That's the real one.
Oh, absolutely get rid of that.
Was this what? Oh no, I need to keep this and just display it proudly because this was super good for like a week last edition, where Games Workshop FAQ'd it to work one way and then immediately re-FAQ'd it to work the opposite way completely.
It was great. It was really, really good. Yeah,
Mech Boy Workshop. I got fucking scammed. Just like, what was that core unit where they FAQ'd it in AOS?
Skull Cannon.
The Skull Cannon.
Yeah.
And they fucked everyone over with it.
Yeah, well, they didn't. They just fucked over one podcaster who like clearly had no clue. Like straight in, it was a weird setup.
Okay. Well, this is worse then. Okay,
yeah.
This is worse.
Yeah. So the shock. So are we on keeping the buggies or not? Shock jump dragster.
I want to keep them all as one kit and then reduce the number of buggies available in the book because it takes up like 4 pages.
Yeah, I'd rather they just have just make it one like custom vehicle, and then you can upgrade your vehicle to have different things for different points, and then
nice like that.
Yeah. So you just just one kit, one data. Well, not necessarily one kit, but one data sheet, and you just have random different upgrades. So you can really go to town on the customization of like orc vehicles and stuff.
Yeah, see, I like the models. Don't get me wrong, I like the models. But when you start thinking about an army, like some race cars is weird. Like it's weird.
It feels like we're in a separate box game. They thought, oh fuck, we need to give people a way to use these in actual 40k games.
Yeah, like it's very, very odd, and at odds, I think, with like a lot of the other stuff that we really see. So I'm with you, Nick. I think that's quite cool, especially as someone pointed out. Like I think maybe it was you actually. So you were saying the other day, like if you got 3 mechajet scrapjets, but they all look the same, like, and that's like very un-orky.
It makes sense for like the Imperium to have a factory, which factory produces tanks to be all the same standardized thing, but orcs don't really do that. So it's a bit weird if you have like, because you can have 9 of the same thing in your army, 9 of the same thing. Like, is there like what orc big mech is going to make the same thing 9 times? They're going to want to go wild and make some weird contraption every time, aren't they?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, like especially to that like level of quality. I agree with you 100%. All right, so then the Death Dreads and the Killer Cans.
I like the Killer Cans. I think they're cool.
I think the Death Dreads need an upgrade at least. And
I think the Death Dreads need an upgrade. I think the Killer Cans are cool though. Keep them. Just give them better rules. Better rules all day.
Yeah.
We've done all the planes, and that's it. So we've got most of the range. Nice. So I think that's a good like indication of like, you know, it's good that they're getting something new ultimately. So I'm very excited. I would like to see more feral orcs generally. I think that would be like a nice take, and I would like to see probably less shooting, more fighting. So yeah, like unless you guys have got anything else, we could talk about the next thing on the list. If you guys are happy with that, time for us to go to a small break from our sponsor. Here we are. Are you wanting to become a professional 40k player? Then sign up to
Dodge contract.
Sign up to the coaching service offered by Neil Kerr please follow him on Facebook and add him for questions.
To apply, just send a direct message on all social media platforms you can find him on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, all of them.
Starting with all caps, I want to be better, please help me.
We should do this every week. We should just send everyone to one person's social media page. Anyway, and back from our sponsors. So the kind of the couple of this. So the hot news, I guess, for the Spy Center for us to kind of break in. So this is where we're going to get serious as a group of people. So Games Workshop have announced that they have their own tour of events going on in America. It's the first time that they've. I think
it's a bunch of individual events now, right? It's not like recurring events going on, specifically in case of these 4 events, right?
You are correct. So it's 3 events specifically. Is the kind of like the important takeaway. But yes, they aren't really a tour as of yet, but it is a traveling road show where they take the whole 40k apparatus as well as everything else, all of their events. They do a big event, and then they've got like a Forge World store there, and it's all of that other stuff. Number one, I would say that's quite exciting for the kickoff. Nick, how do you feel about that?
I don't really know. I don't really have any strong feelings either way.
Okay, all right, Tom, how do you feel about it?
I'm excited. I really want to watch the American Pro Tour, to be honest. I think that'd be a really good viewing. But I think it'd be different to what we could do here, right?
Okay, all right. Why don't you have any strong feelings on it, Nick? Like, why is it not like why doesn't it capture your imagination?
Because it's happening in America. Mm-hmm. And every Games Workshop stream that I've ever watched has been pretty dull and boring.
Massive agree on that sentiment.
Mainly the early years.
Yeah, mainly the first couple of years I thought were the worst ones. Yeah. Why have they taken the map down? That's pretty wild. There was a map on the article, and it's been retconned. Oh, there it is. It just took a while to load. Okay. So, Tom, one of the things that it seems quite clear is that they'll be running competitive 40k events, and then they'll be live streaming them. So, Tom, why are you excited about why are you inverted excited about a pro tour? Talk to me about this.
All right. So, firstly, I don't really mind how shit the broadcast is, because most of the enjoyment that we all got from Game of Thrones Season 8 was complaining about Game of Thrones Season 8 afterwards.
You got it.
So, even if it's giga shit, we'll have a great time talking about it afterwards.
100%.
Okay? Secondly, I know why I'd want to watch the North American 40k Pro Circuit, okay? And it's the same reason why I watch North American League of Legends. I don't watch North American League of Legends because it's serious, top-tier gameplay. I watch it because it's fucking hilarious. I want Games Workshop to market this Pro Tour like WWE. I want to see Richard Siegler throw TJ Lanigan 16 feet off Hell in a Cell through an announcer's table, okay?
Yeah.
I want it to be just fucking fun, okay? I don't want it to be like a serious thing. They won't, but I would want to complain about...
They'll have the same casters casting the entire tournament without a single break, and then by the time it gets to the final, they'll be too knackered to even give a shit about trying.
Okay, the broadcast itself will be shit, but the content surrounding it, made independently by whoever on the internet, is going to be fucking brilliant.
Agreed. Because one of the really key things about there being a Pro Tour from Games Workshop, or even their own set of events outside of Warhammer World, is that, especially in the hotbed of what would be considered, I guess, very online 40k, which would be America, is that they do not and have not for a long time approached this in any form of professional way. Them setting up their own tournaments means a bunch of different stuff. They're going to need a pack. That's really important. And what does that pack look like? What's the scoring system? What's the FAQ setup? There's some really hot questions in that. Because if they don't answer something ahead of time, what's their situation going to be on FAQs? Are they going to allow you to... Are they going to release a book the week before? And then are they going to then let you turn up with your brand new army?
Can I just give an example of Games Workshop? Because obviously Games Workshop... semi-recently stopped doing competitive events, but then again started putting on the heats and stuff like that.
Warhammer World, yeah.
At Warhammer World, and then they also started doing team events, which Team Games Workshop went to 2 of them. We were going to 3rd until Kevin came along and stopped it. And we had a good time at those. But I think independent events are better, which we've discussed before. But an example of what I'd be worried about if I was going to ones in America. So one of the most recent team tournament that we went to, about a week before the event, when it was like time to like submit our list, we were looking at the pack and stuff like that, and we were like, hang on, like according to this pack, we can. All of us could potentially take Iron Hands, and all of us could potentially take the Iron Stone, which was like a pretty OP thing at the time before it was nerfed. And I emailed the events organizers and said, by the way, do you know that this is possible? And is it okay if we do it? Because it's according to the thing. And they kind of emailed back saying, I'm paraphrasing, oh, crap, yeah. Well, just, yeah, go for it, sort of thing. So, like, they didn't have a tight enough pack or really care enough to make it a more fair tournament experience for everyone. And we ended up going to the event. We went 4-1 as a team and got 0 favorite game votes because people were bitching about our team afterwards because we had 3 Iron Hands and we took 3 Iron Stones. And it's like, well, we can do, because that was the most meta thing for us to do. So why the fuck shouldn't we? We contacted the TOs to say, are you sure this is allowed? And they said yes, and we did it. And then we got bitched about afterwards because we did it, and it's like, oh, okay, all right. But like,
okay,
that's kind of what, you know, a Games Workshop event could be like, and that doesn't give me massively. Maybe it will be different because they've got what's his name, Mike Brandt involved, because he's more used to running bigger events. Maybe they will be better because he's involved rather than that.
But the thing is when he would run events for Nova, so this is Mike Brandt from Nova, and he's obviously responsible for all of this. So when he would run those events for Nova, like, which is his event, like, it wasn't him speaking for the company. What's going to be fascinating about these events and why it's super spicy for the Spy Center is that whatever is done and said there is Games Workshop rule. So any FAQs or any judge calls that happen over the course of that tournament is Games Workshop making that call. And how does that filter down? Are they going to do judges? That's a hot take. Are we going to have 40k judges there and they make calls? That's really interesting. Are they going to put an FAQ pack out like instead of the main company? Is there like a tournament FAQ pack where because there's loads of
calling FAQs at the table as they're playing?
Yeah, like are they going to have employees there making decisions? And because they when a TO makes an FAQ call, it's TO making an FAQ call. But when it's the Games Workshop TO making the FAQ call, you would hope that they're briefed and prepped enough on the game that that's the call. They know the intent. Because there's no hiding behind it now. The TO from whichever fucking event in wherever, they don't know the intent, so they're just making a best guess at what they think is good for the game. But these guys, they can just ring them. They'll be like, hello? Like, what's the intent of this exact rule, please? Like, they could do that. And my question is, do you think that that's what we're going to see? That's where I'm at. That's what's exciting.
Can I get involved in that very quickly? The fact that they even have to do that at the table is a problem, because if you play the entire game assuming that a rule is intended to be played one way and your opponent's intending for it to be played another, if you ever get into a situation where you need an FAQ on the spot about how the rule is meant to be played in a professional tour, you've already failed. Because everything else that's happened earlier on in that game is completely called into question, because the entire process that led you up to that point was based off one certain assumption.
Couldn't agree with you more. Which is why, again, it's going to be fascinating to see what happens. So we're going to see because they would have to make those FAQ and kind of decisions pre the actual tournament, right? That's pretty exciting. So I think that's really fun. Hey, Neil says, "I love
FAQ." Yeah. So hopefully, then we get a proper and full-on comprehensive FAQ.
Yeah. So we might end up with an official tournament FAQ. Let's now talk about terrain. One of the things that's been happening a lot, we have at least 3 formats of terrain at the moment. We've got WTC, we've got ITC terrain format, and we've also got the UK TC, so the LGT sort of like terrain set. And I'm sure there are more as well. I don't even know if Australia has their own one, and they probably do. So then you're going to have the Games Workshop Pro Tour again, terrain. And let's talk about that, because their terrain is fucking awful. What are they doing? Are they just making 800,000 crates, and every board is just crates? Like,
to be fair, that's more crates than they actually have for shipping product around the world.
Or were they going to use a terrain book and insist that everyone brings their own terrain book?
Please
their own terrain, write your terrain list, 500 points.
How to kill your seed immediately. Holy moly.
So, like,
I'm sure
that's the thing.
like,
A lot of go on.
his brainchild or something like that terrain book. I'm sure, because they all came.
There was none.
Came out. Huh?
It was someone's son, I would assume.
So now Serbator's making the next chat. What about Realm of Battle boards? Because they currently don't make maps. They don't make mats. So they have to 100% use third-party mats.
Well, they've got mats at Warhammer World now.
They do.
They have
do.
the quarter board, so you just put 4 of them together and have a big hole in the middle that you cover with someone's head. It's an objective marker.
They're going to use the cardboard. Is that what they're going to do?
That's why they did the missions that way round. So, you use the kill team mats, and then you have a big hole in the middle, and then you just put an objective there, and you just have, like, I don't know, fucking Reese's face just staring up from the center of the board.
Yeah, like, I would love that.
That hole. Yeah, it'd be fine.
So, like some hot questions there, because, like, are they using Realm of Battle boards? No. They do have mats. They have shown us mats that they produced at Warhammer World, but are those mats that they're going to sell? Because we haven't seen those as products. So are they going to run a Pro Tour on mat? Hold off for a minute and then see. Because Twitch might have kept that whole bit of information going, which is nice.
Fuck.
Huh?
I just told the chat that if they wanted to bring the stream back, they had to subscribe with their Twitch Primes, and the stream's already back. So how are they going to
donate £10 each to get us
How
back?
are we going to get you to subscribe with our Twitch Primes?
Yeah. This is like whatever.
What?
This is preemptive, bringing the stream back in anticipation of your primes. Okay?
Right,
the stream will be erased from your memory unless you give us your Twitch primes immediately. Thank you very much.
So, podcast people and people of YouTube, I'm gonna rephrase all of this. I'm gonna redo this because I'm not exactly sure where it fell down. But okay, here we go. There's a load of stuff that we don't know that they're going to use in tournament infrastructure. So mats, hopefully you heard the conversation about mats. Terrain, fascinating. How are they going to do terrain? Are they going to base it? Is it Crate City? All of that stuff. What are they going to do? And this is a great opportunity for them to take their terrain and show us how to use it. This is like marketable stuff. They're like, hey guys, here's a Games Workshop tournament. Look at, or even just here's one Games Workshop board that works for competitive 40k. But what will be hilarious is if it's just like Warhammer World, 3 Wildwoods and a couple of random bits of terrain. Would be plasma conduits everywhere. Yeah, would be so fucking good. Yeah,
I would if I was betting, I would say that it's probably going to be that. But what it should be, and I think what they're hoping it to be, because they're doing it as like a traveling roadshow to try and inspire people in that area or whatever, or get more people into hobby in that area and like build up the communities in those areas, which I think is great. Mm-hmm. But and they should make it the best possible experience they can. But I doubt it will be. Mainly based on everything that Games Workshop have done recently, and like Warhammer World events, like in general are worse than independent events, and I feel like a number when I go there. Partly because when they do the draw, you literally are a number. They just display a spreadsheet on the wall, and you get assigned a number and a table number, and you have to go to that location rather than your name being up. And like independent events just seem to put more effort into making it a good time. A good example would be Bobo. Like they put more effort into making it a good time rather than just getting your money out your pocket.
Every time someone describes it as a travelling roadshow, by the way, I just think of a circus. So you're doing it.
Yeah, I think it's probably going to be more like a travelling circus, to be fair.
So Gorka Walker says, I bet they have already made a Pro Tour in a box set of terrain and a mat or two that they'll make a community post about and sell us for $200. $200 is low. But yeah, no, Gorka Walker, I agree with you. I think that we could 100% see something like that. That's why it's so interesting, because they have to. The other thing is this was meant to have started last year, apparently. So they've had all of the COVID time to prep for this. This is super good. But we haven't even got to the best bit. What's the scoring system? Probably just be scoring out the box, right? Like, who takes it away, how many rounds it is, that's great. But is no one seeing the hot question? How are you submitting your lists? What are you building it on, Nick?
Oh no! I didn't even think
no one's
about it.
even thought about this. How are you writing your list?
Battlescribe, and I'll be emailing them just to troll them.
It just
You
says
are
it in
not.
Battlescribe format.
You've not. No one's even
Yeah,
thought
here's a
about it. There's
Battlescribe
no
file.
way that they're letting you submit your list via Battlescribe. So they're just
That's
literally
a big lull in the
training
chat.
the whole audience to use the app. But if the app isn't up to scratch and it doesn't work, and then also there's no rule, like Battlescribe is like your rule is that your list is illegal. As far as I know, the app doesn't do that.
It's a big conspiracy. So when certain people submit illegal lists by accident, it doesn't matter. We didn't know about it. Okay,
Right?
not a problem.
You're a famous YouTuber. It doesn't matter. You can get away with it. We'll make excuses for you.
Like, so that's wild. That's wild. You're going to use the app, which doesn't clarify whether or not your list is legal or not legal. And there's already, like, we've had people who are considered to be pretty good gamers accidentally submitting lists that aren't, like, up to scratch. They're going to have someone check every single list for their competitive event.
They won't. What they'll do is, I guarantee this is what they'll do. Print out your list and bring it on the morning.
Oh no, mate.
Yeah.
Not again.
That'll be what they do. 100%.
Yeah. 100%. It's going to be...
Handwritten lists, whatever. So there'll be no checking of the lists.
It's going to be fucking...
I believe I actually did that at Nova when I was there.
Yeah.
I didn't have to my list at advance. I just had to bring a sheet of paper. Then the head ref, I think it might have been Johnny, I can't remember, just took a photo of it for me and then submitted it to BCP for me.
This is possibly the greatest source of memeable material that Games Workshop have ever announced. It's thoroughly exciting. Like,
this is why I love it.
I'm with you. I'm with you. It's just you kind of have to like take the donkey to the water, right, and be like, have they thought through all of these things? But you know what? If they have, then I'm really excited because it means what the company are doing is they've built the correct stuff. We'll have terrain maps. We'll know what Games Workshop products to buy to design and build our own boards. We'll have mats available from Games Workshop that thematically work with everything. We'll have an app that works that we can create lists from and it checks their validity, which is great. So all positive. So the idea of a Pro Tour from Games Workshop is only hugely beneficial to us as a competitive community. It's really, really exciting.
Or just me, as a guy who likes laughs.
Or it's like it's really exciting because we end up with like the boring version of the excitement is it just all works and everything's great. The other version of the excitement is it doesn't do any of those things and it's fucking hilarious. One of those two. Like, and I'm living for it either way. Good community stuff, thumbs. Not good community stuff. Also, how do they deal with top table? How do they deal with cheating? How do they deal with like judge calls?
Yeah, because we know cheating is rife within the upper echelons of American 40k.
We do.
Because
right,
TOs, if they're running a tournament when it's streamed, they have to warn the talent that they're being streamed and you're being watched.
In 1080p.
But
Just by the way, lads.
This time.
People on the broadcast, please, such as myself.
Can
we just not use it for other people?
Sure.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Blez in the chat says going to be awesome when the app crashes. It's going to be great. Are they going to stream it in 1080p? It's going to be wild. They won't have the internal budget to fill it with official terrain, says Stupendous. Which is going to be
a question because I could see he's got a Twitch Prime, but he's not subscribed. So.
They will do the whole "we are just commentators and we can't interfere with the game," says Wargamer. Anyway, I'm very much excited about it. One of the big questions is, Primator says 0% chance. The real question is this also an indication that they've said publicly that they don't plan to interfere with ITC-based tournaments? So their plan is to not engage with the ITC and instead, like, they'll do the Games Workshop Roadshow, whatever it's called, in one place, and then next year they'll do it somewhere else. With the idea of it like kind of like a Comic-Con coming to your state. And you're like, cool, like a traveling roadshow. I imagine though there's some pretty big clout winning the Games Workshop event. Or at least some people will see that as big clout. right? There's
Not
a lot
enough to post about it winning a Games Workshop affiliated event. It's not, winning a Games Workshop affiliated 40k event is not important enough to put it on your fucking website, even if the Underworld's version gets on the fucking website. So,
Tom being
do you think Mike Brandt's doing this so cities all around America are going to like want to invite him over, wine him, dine him, send him gifts just so he brings the game.
See, that's what I'm excited about. Is like 2-3 years time, do we get a kind of like an Olympic style like bribery commission going on? Scandal. That's exciting.
Certified?
Sorry, say that again, Tom.
Are you T-Sports certified? You're going to get a whole bunch of people caught on Adderall again, such as myself.
Yeah, are we getting drug testing? Is drug testing happening? Right, so it's going to be
around those events. We'll have a great time.
This is going to be really fun. Games Workshop trying to be the FIFA of tournaments, 100%, and I'm here for it. I think it's going to be great. Which brings us on to the next bit of spice. So this is something we'll try to keep track of in the future, but the next spice pocket that's available is here in the UK. Zach, who ran the LGT, or runs the LGT, and also runs the Leicester GT, the Nottingham GT, the Sheffield GT, the fucking Coventry GT, a billion GTs
now. Coventry GT, just the Coventry GT. There is no Sheffield GT.
Oh, okay, yeah, well, a bunch of GTs is my point.
Yes,
right?
Nottingham, Leicester, and yeah.
So the point is, has started his own points system comparable to the ITC. Which is like, so this is big news for everyone in the UK, is that previously, if you were aware of ITC points generally, you had to travel to America to go to the super majors because the super majors were worth more points for you to end up winning the ITC. So Zach very cleverly has started to run a bunch of super majors in the UK. So all the UK people no longer have to travel to America. I mean, obviously you're going to want to go to something like the LVO because it's in Las Vegas. Like, who doesn't want like an excuse to travel to Las Vegas as opposed to Scunthorpe or wherever the super majors will be? Although I don't think they're in Scunthorpe. So, like, that's pretty exciting because if you're a UK or European-based player, and this isn't anything to do with what even the Alliance Open guys are doing, who are also running their own super majors throughout Europe. So there are some genuine rivals to at least how the ITC or the kind of the prestige of the American events. Obviously, America's got a large player base, but people from Europe no longer have to necessarily go there to compete to be part of the ITC points. And here's where it gets interesting, and this is the spice. This is the spice for you two to talk about, and I want to ask you. That's going to be really upsetting for the ITC guys. Because if no one from Europe has to travel over, like, that's less people going to their events. Yeah? And maybe that wasn't a huge portion of those people anyway. But it's less people.
Yeah.
Yeah? It's more people playing here. It's also more media coverage of everything happening here. Like, your big super major here is a big deal. Your big super major over in Denmark or any... where is the Alliance Open? I'm sure it's in Denmark. It's... I know that...
Netherlands.
Yeah, Netherlands.
Yeah. So that's happening. There's a big event over in Germany. Obviously, the WTC will be happening in Europe as well. There's some big news. And the real question is with the dominance of the ITC point system over the years, how do you guys feel about a new point system that being European-based, meaning people don't have to travel to the US to be a part of, in brackets, the show? I'm going to put that. Tom, how do you feel about this?
I don't really care. Like, I never really care about the ITC point system anyway. I don't think it's not something that I particularly value. And personally, I don't really attend too many super majors. Like, I attend the London GT. It's like a staple of the 40k tournament scene in the UK now. But it's just one of those things where people are into it. So I struggle to really empathize. I think the difference that might get a little bit annoying for the ITC guys is that you may get American players flying over to the UK to play in these massive events that happen once a month and harvest their ITC points. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see a similar thing where the ITC event cuts off these UK events from ITC points quality.
Yeah, which is why they've set up their own points, right? Like, because that's the long form. That's the long form take. Is that you end up with the American ITC system, and then everyone just is like, "Cool, you guys are the American guys. Do your American thing," and that's fine. That's a big yard to be a part of. But the European guys, the Australian guys, they could be part of their own system, and they can create their own tours and do their own thing. It's pretty exciting. because these road tours that we're seeing happen in America, I assume aren't happening in Europe anytime soon. There's not two teams. There's not an American road tour and a European road tour, and there's definitely not an Australian road tour because I don't think Games Workshop like Australia for some particular reason. Nick, how do you feel about all of it?
Literally 60 miles down the east coast, so
yeah. Nick, how do you feel about this?
I do think it's kind of cool to have our own thing over in the UK. Because I'm not super when I play. I'm not super bothered about my ITC ranking. I mean, I guess for the majority of us who aren't necessarily involved in big team tournaments like Tom and WTC, etc., it's nice to have a look at your ITC ranking and go, oh yeah, I'm ranked that, blah blah blah, and it's something to aim for people. Maybe gives you some extra motivation to go and do well at tournaments. So having a separate one that doesn't get diluted by being in the mix of it being involving everything in America and having your own English one would be kind of cool, I guess. So yeah, I like it as an idea. I'd be interested to know, do they still have a cash prize like the ITC does? And is there any plans in the future if we have like a UK one, if we have like a European one, Australian one, etc.? Like, it'd be cool if they had like, were able to organize, like a champions of champions kind of thing, or whatever. Like, so the top two or top however of each one get invited to like a special super tournament, which would be cool.
I think that's really interesting. I think there's also loads. There's really great points being made in the chat between the Games Workshop Roadshow, the ITC, and this. It's interesting to see how the community will focus their attention, and it is interesting to see how the community will focus their attention because the Games Workshop live stream has to be more interesting than, let's say, the FLG live stream, and it has to be more interesting than our live stream. Which obviously, good luck to all of those guys because we're amazing. And we're going to smash face on that front. So that's going to be like really, really exciting because it's fun. It's fun having a bit of competition out there to race against. So, I mean, that's cool. How does the community focus their attention? How do they absorb information and what stuff becomes relevant? Because your local meta becomes more relevant and interesting to you, I think, over time, right?
Yeah.
And if you've got, because we also get to develop sports stars. Here, we have American sports stars that you can name at the drop of a hat. You've got the Art of War 40k guys, and there's a bunch of other people who are like the sports stars in brackets. One of the things that I think Tom's been doing really well, and Neil, and hopefully we've been doing a little bit, is starting to talk about these players who've been playing competitive 40k in Europe who just don't necessarily have big media attention on them because there isn't like necessarily, although obviously fucking Spain doesn't agree with that because they've got like 1 billion people watching all of their events and all the information that they do. So like the Spanish numbers for their media is massive. So I think that there's a really, really interesting conversation about like where all the eyes are because I think all of the eyes for a long time have been in the US. And that's why I think a lot of the money is in the US.
Yeah, because is it because I don't know the proper mechanics of how the ITC system works, but like, do American players just tend to be ranked higher because there's more events over there because they have more access to get ITC points, or is that wrong? I don't really know.
They also have these massive events, right? Like the way the system specifically has worked over the last few years, although I've made an effort to tune it down a little bit recently, was that the number of points you get based on your position was weighted high. You get more points the bigger the event was. So let's say you had an event of 500 people, you'd get more for coming first in that than you would for an event of 200 people, right? The problem was this ended up getting quite wonky. So a couple of years ago, I think Andrew Gagnon won Nova, and he got the same number of points for winning Nova, which had all the best players at it, as the person who came 41st at the LVO did, who went 5-1.
Yeah,
because of the size of the event. So
they have changed that though. They did do something about that.
They did a bit, yeah. But my issue has always been that size of event doesn't necessarily translate to quality of opponent. And in fact, when you are playing a set number of games, it has an actively adverse effect, right? If you have, like, let's say in the UK, you have a 100-player tournament, right? Let's take Caledonian events and Caledonian Uprising, historically one of the oldest and most famous events of the UK, which is now stopped, but it was a staple of the calendar for years. You get all the top players coming there, right? When the LGT went down in the same year, you'd still have all the same players. The extra 400 players would include people who were a bit new to competitive 40k, right? So I could get a 5-0 record at the LGT much more easily than I could at Caledonian. For example, if I played at Caledonian, I won my first game. I'd now be playing one of the top 50 players in the room. But I'd be playing one of the top 25, one of the top 13, one of the top 6, and so on, or top 7, and so on. If I'm playing against 500 people at LGT, I play top 500, top 250, top 125, top 60, whatever, 63, top 31 or 32, right? There's a good chance I can make the entire field without hitting like a top 8 player in the country.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Like, and I think, and I understand that relevance as well. Like when you go to like a Warhammer World event, like sometimes you just kick in seals for 3 rounds, like, and then it like starts getting a bit fruity. Which like, and I understand that, and I agree with you. And independent tournaments are normally populated by, I would argue, more competent players. Is probably the right way to describe it. So yeah, like I think that's fascinating, and I agree with you, Tom. So like the scoring system, and I know someone was saying in the chat, who was it? Warmaster Forge was saying that of course these events that are happening in Europe at the moment are also giving you ITC points at the same time. But my question is where the spice lies is what happens when you can just never leave the UK and just go to all your monthly super majors and get all your points there. Like, because your award ceremony is still in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Like, you know.
Like I never got my best Eldari trophy. Disgusting.
There you go, right? Like that's where your award ceremony is. So you got to go there for the award ceremony, which is where it is. So there has to be some sort of like delineation between that, or there isn't, which I think is wild. And like Uncle GM says, price support really affects this because if Games Workshop Tour gets money behind it, you'll see big names start focusing on them. Similarly, if the ITC Pro Tour, which they're doing, does the same thing, and that's worth loads of money as a big cash prize at the end, which it already is, right? But if it starts being worth more money, like tens of thousands, as opposed to the thousands it's worth now, again, really exciting. So you are seeing the beginning of a pro sport for playing Warhammer 40,000, at least in a single structure, but it's really advancing in different communities very fast, and I think a fascinating time to keep your eye on in the next however long. Who knows? Who knows? I'm pretty excited. And how will it happen? How will you play at a Pro Tour when you've got the Orc Codex, but the other guys don't have the Orc Codex? Like,
turn up to Pro Tour and everyone's playing Drakari. Just who can play the mirror match best? Well, this is my territory now, boys. I'll be having that.
Anyway, so I just think can't wait for 30k to get a Pro Tour. Lurker Frag, I agree. That would be best. Who can tell the best
That's
story?
That's just a regular talk at this point, the number of players you have.
Yeah. So yeah, like 2 really like spicy kind of like interlapping pieces of information I think at the moment going on. And if you guys are listening live, or not listening live, if you guys are listening back on YouTube, I'd love to know what your thoughts are, because I think there's some pretty fun stuff in there. Do you think we've left anything on the table, Nick and Tom, in that particular setup?
No, I think we're clear. I think we're good.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Like I think there's lots to take away from that and lots to think on. So if anyone does have any ideas, I'd love you to throw the ideas at me via Twitter or in the Facebook messages or in YouTube comments or any of that. I think that would be good. So yeah, I'd love to hear what your thoughts are and see what those takes are gonna be. And that's it. That's it for today. That's all the things that we have to talk about. That's all the hot goss out there in 40k world right now.
Well, can I share my internet highlight of the week?
Please. Yeah, I'd love that.
My internet highlight of the week was the reveal show that you guys did on Friday. I wasn't able to attend, but I did watch it back, I think, on the Saturday, because I kept my head out of the news, so I didn't see any of the reveal, so I watched it back. And my funniest moment from the show was when somebody donated a subscription to Ben Bailey, who was lurking in the chat, and then on the Games Workshop stream they went live, but their mics were muted, and then they had to switch back and then switch back again with their mics on. So I'm hoping that it was actually Ben Bailey in the chat, and he was gifting his gift subscription, and that put him off so much that he accidentally forgot to unmute their mics. In my head, that's what happened. Whether or not that's actually 100% how it happened, but that was pretty hilarious. Yes.
Yeah. It was very, 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 very funny. And it's nice to watch. Hey, big shout out to all you content creators, wherever you are in the world, watching us and getting ideas for how to set up your live streams in the future. Love you all. good
You're
luck,
welcome.
because we're going to fuck you up. Tom, you got any shout-outs? You got some internet fun you had this week? Something? No?
No, I don't want to talk about that guy. Fuck.
Okay.
I just realised there are some absolute messes on Twitter, and my block list is entirely warranted.
Okay.
It's pretty
fair.
heavy, by the way.
I just block all
decision I wanted to briefly mention though as well. From I don't know if it was this week or not, but I only came aware of it. They've updated an FAQ where if you deep strike 9 inches away and you attack someone in a building, if they're on the top floor, it's easier to charge them than if they're on the bottom floor.
I've defeated that though because I've actually based all my models on bases upside down.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Is how I deal with that. Is that how you deal with that? Wasn't this always a thing? This has just been a thing in 9th, but just no one does it.
I mean, I've never noticed it because we have an FAQ in the WTC FAQ. It just says project your silhouette down onto the floor. So
yeah,
it's
like a very simple fix. Which will that be in the Pro Tour for Games Workshop? Is the question.
No, 7-inch charges.
No, because they've put it.
That's how you fix it.
Yeah,
say that again, please, Tom.
They've fixed it already.
Oh yeah, they fixed it. How did they fix it?
By making it true in the game that if you deep strike next to a building with a unit in, it's easier to charge them if they're on the top floor rather than on the bottom floor, which makes 0 sense to me.
Yeah,
I understand it maths wise and rules wise, but in the sense of the game, just makes 0 sense. And what they have like in the newest rulebook, they put a section for rare rules. Why didn't they put just something in the rare rule section where they said like, if you deep striking in, you always need a 9. Regardless of what's going on.
It's really simple. They have the same in Age of Sigmar. I've actually put that in. I put that in both of our rule packs. Like it's really simple. Like, well, I mean, for 40k, we're just referring to the WTC FAQ. But like in the Age of Sigmar one, it's just like you must measure 9. End conversation. Like it's a 9 unless you add modifiers. Really easy. Just put that in the rules, and someone's like, "But why?" Yeah. It's like, I don't need to give you an answer as to but why. That's the rule. And they try and write like 800 paragraphs to try and re-explain it to themselves, and then they deleted the fly keyword because they didn't know how to deal with it. Do you remember that for 6 months? They were like, "Lol, you can't fly over things." What? Okay, yeah, it's been a loophole that's been there for years, or it's a feature. Any of those things.
Feature.
It's either a bug or a feature.
Sorry, Tom.
It's either a bug or a feature. It's fine. Don't worry about it. You're all right.
Yes, either a bug or a feature. All right, you guys got any shout-outs before we head out today?
I just want to shout out Dude Our Day in the chat.
Way, go on, Dude Our Day. Big love to you. The Fly FAQ was because of that stream game with BA versus Morty. So sad. Encore GM. Yeah, I remember. That was wild times. Tom, you got any shout-outs you want to make?
Nope. Carry on.
No shout-outs.
No.
Not a single one.
Surely.
Not even a
They
not
have
even
to
a
have some kind of
one
value.
shout out from you.
If I just throw them out willy-nilly, then they lose their meaning and their value. So I'm just gonna.
Oh wow, you are fierce, aren't you? You do not care. All right, well, we'll go raid someone now. I just want to thank everyone for tuning in live. If you are listening to the podcast, thanks loads. Don't forget you can always leave us a podcast review if you ever fancy doing that on whichever of the platforms you're doing it on. If you're watching on YouTube, you can hit smash like, subscribe, and all that other stuff. Leave a comment for the algorithm gods because you're big thugs. And if you're watching live on Twitch, you guys are wonderful. Shout out to Warhammer Underworlds. No. Never doing that. Shout out to Adam. Yeah, I'll shout out Adam. That'll be fun. And then shout out, join me again tomorrow, live, obviously. And for the rest of the week, you guys are great. We'll see you soon. We're going to go raid someone. Oh, I need to thank everyone on Patreon as well, because you make it so we can live, which is pretty nice. We're going to go raid the guys at Glasshammer Gaming who are doing some 40k matchups. 40k match. So we'll go do that now. 40k. And thank you for listening to the... Thank you for listening to the 40k Spy Center. That's how we end it now. How do you guys feel about that?
Well, that's how we're ending every show now.
Yeah.
I'm down for that.
Yeah. Okay. Do you guys want to do
more
it?
Fake adverts. I'd like some more pre-planned fake adverts. Like
that's your job.
Do you want to be better at 40k? Buy this Art of War toothpaste.
We could make some like
whiten your
30
teeth. You
second
get better at
shitty
40k at
videos.
the same time.